Shelley Finkel, Deontay Wilder's co-manager, has confirmed that Wilder has parted ways with longtime co-trainer Mark Breland. Now, in the immediate aftermath of Wilder's loss to Tyson Fury in their rematch, he apparently had already fired Mark Breland. Okay, this was the rumor. We all heard about it. But then because of the public backlash against what he'd apparently done, Mark Breland was then retained. So, they did a U-turn and they said, okay, we better keep him on just to keep the public happy. That's the way it seemed. Because one of the reasons that Mark Breland being fired left such a bitter taste in so many fans' mouths is because Mark Breland clearly cared about the fighter. That's why he threw the towel in. Because Deontay was never going to win from the position he was in. He was just getting battered from pillar to post every round, getting weaker and weaker. And Mark Breland could see what was happening, and he stepped in and said, no, enough. I need to protect my fighter. He didn't want Deontay to end up so damaged in the fight that he would never be the same again. I mean, we've seen that in so many fights over the years. Remember Jeff Lacey? After Calzaghe battered him, he was never the same again. And Mark Breland didn't want to say, look, I'm not saying Jeff Lacey's like Wilder or vice versa, but again, when a fighter takes a certain amount of damage in a very one-sided fight, it can change them for the worse. Mark Breland knows that himself, and he didn't want that to happen with Deontay. In this sport of boxing, unfortunately, there are not many people who genuinely care about the welfare of the fighter. Most people, look, everybody's out to make money in boxing, of course, but it would seem that the majority put money. I want to choose my words carefully because I don't want to be unfair to a lot of people in boxing. But let me just be diplomatic and say this. There are a lot of people in boxing who are just looking to make money, and the fighter's health is not a higher priority than their own bank balance. Let's just put it that way. Mark Breland, clearly from his actions in that Tyson Fury rematch, he ain't one of those people. He's somebody who actually put the fighter's health above his own bank balance. Because apparently there'd been a conversation before the fight and Deontay had told his team in no uncertain terms, do not under any circumstances stop the fight. Even if I'm in trouble, even if I've been down, don't stop the fight. The ref is going to be the one that stops the fight. And this is why we have this saying that fighters need to be protected from themselves. Yes, so many of them are warriors and they'll go out in their shield. But at the end of the day, there have been some real tragedies in boxing. And I certainly don't want to see more tragedies. I want to try and minimize these tragedies that happen in the sport. And that's why we need cornermen like Mark Breland, who, despite what their fighter may have told them or instructed them behind the scenes before the fight, no, Mark Breland is supposed to be there to make sure that nothing really bad happens to his man. And that's what Mark Breland did. So big him up. Now, long preamble. Apologies for that. The point I want to make here is that I think that Mark Breland should have been kept on in some capacity, even if he's not a trainer, even if he's just, one of the seconds, or in some capacity. You need someone in your team that cares that much about you, that is willing to, do what Mark Breland did. I'm not, horrified by the fact that Mark Breland will no longer be Deontay Wilder's trainer, as long as he gets somebody else in. Now, I'm not sure that Mark Breland ever was a particularly great trainer. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have the correct personality for Deontay Wilder as a trainer, because it's not just about what a trainer can teach you. It's about how receptive you are to his methods. So maybe from a personality perspective, they didn't gel, or maybe Mark Breland is not that good at communicating, and maybe he's not that good at training. I don't know. But if you look at Mark Breland's track record in terms of who he's trained and what he's had them do, there's not really much there. Yes, he was a world champion himself as a pro and a cronk fighter and a great amateur and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't always translate to becoming a great trainer. There have been some great fighters over the years who didn't turn out to be particularly great trainers. So I'm not really mad at Wilder not having Breland as a trainer, but from what I hear, I'm not sure if it mentions it in this. It says that JD's will just continue as the main trainer because he was co-training with Mark Breland before, but now JD's will be the sole trainer. See, that is more of a problem. If he was going to get rid of Breland and bring somebody else in, maybe somebody more established, somebody that has a track record of good results, particularly at heavyweight, I wouldn't have been particularly mad at that. But just sticking with JD's, I don't know, man. I find that a little off. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And I believe this is what Wilder said about Mark Breland throwing in the towel. I mean, if he's... Okay, now I'm sure this was immediately after the fight. You know, where he's talking about how Wilder seemed to be suggesting that Breland was like a double agent. and he stopped the fight to help out Fury or something. Yeah, Deontay, you had Fury right where you wanted him. And Mark Breland stepped in. It's just like, you really have to wonder about Deontay Wilder when that type of stuff is on his mind. You know, he's not the sharpest tool in the box. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. Deontay Wilder getting rid of Mark Breland or parting ways with Mark Breland. And he will now, at the moment, it seems, just solely be trained by JD's. I personally find that troubling. In terms of what other trainers Deontay Wilder could work with, I can't imagine he'd want to work with British trainers, but I do think there are a couple British trainers that could actually help him. I mean, maybe Adam Booth might be able to help him because he has experience with Deontay, of course, when Deontay came over to the UK for a couple of training camps with David Haye. So maybe Adam Booth, but again, Booth is based in the UK, so it probably wouldn't work. Shane McGuigan, these are British trainers. I can't imagine Wilder would want to work with a British trainer, and obviously logistically at the moment, the way the world is, it might not be possible anyway. In America, so many of the great American trainers, and when I say great, I mean that would have been great for Deontay, a lot of them are really old now, and I'm not sure how viable they would be with a big heavyweight like that. I think he might have died recently. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Curtis Coates was a trainer I always liked. I think he would have been good for Deontay, Curtis Coates. Manny Stewart, of course, passed away. You do have trainers out there like Freddie Roach, but nah, that doesn't work really for Deontay as far as I'm concerned. Virgil Hunter, I don't think that style's right for Deontay Wilder at all, what Virgil Hunter teaches. There was one trainer that I wondered about, and that is Teddy Atlas. Now, I know Teddy Atlas famously has been really critical of Deontay Wilder and all the mistakes he makes. But from a personality perspective, yes, Deontay Wilder has gotten carried away with his ego and all this kind of business. But Deontay is, with all due respect, a fairly simple-minded individual. And somebody who is not particularly bright and what have you, but he's very spirited. You know, Deontay he has a strong spirit, but he's not the most intellectual guy, not the brightest guy. But because he's quite simple, I wonder whether Teddy Atlas's approach, his psychological approach, actually would work on Wilder. Because sometimes with Teddy Atlas, he's so over the top when he's in the corner and he's, "We're firemen," and all this kind of stuff, screaming at Tim Bradley. And I looked at stuff like that and I was like Tim Bradley is a mild-mannered guy. It's so over the top for Teddy Atlas to be talking to him like that. But with Deontay Wilder, when Teddy Atlas is in the corner giving one of his motivational speeches, I think that would actually help Wilder. You know, because Wilder's quite an emotional, highly strung person himself. I think when Teddy Atlas starts talking to him like that, I think it would actually get Wilder really fired up, so stylistically, of course, the Customado style doesn't work for Deontay Wilder, but Teddy Atlas didn't only teach that style. Teddy Atlas trained Shannon Briggs, Teddy Atlas trained Michael Moorer, and other people who were more boxer punchers. They didn't fight in the traditional peekaboo tomato style. So I'm sure most people will say, no, that's a terrible pairing between Teddy Atlas and Wilder, Hatman. But I'm just not so much from the technical point of view, but just the personality point of view, more thinking about it. And I don't know, maybe there could be some simpatico there, there could be something there that works between them as a fighter and trainer, because they're both like highly strung people, and Teddy does understand the psychology of fighters, and Wilder is not a difficult person to understand psychologically. Yeah, and because Wilder communicates in this very emotional way, he might be receptive to other people who communicate in that very emotional way. Maybe that's one of the issues with Mark Breland, that Breland is a really calm, quiet character. And maybe Deontay can't really connect with someone who's like that. Whereas if he's with a more lively character, especially kind of an older guy like Teddy Atlas, who's got the experience, maybe they'd understand each other, more on an emotional level. So I don't know. That's just a little throwaway thing there for you guys to contemplate. But let me know what you think in the comments. Deontay Wilder parting ways with Mark Breland now officially, sticking with JD's. What do you think? Let me know, people. It's Hatman, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.